at SuccessWorks, and I've got my colleagues here with me today. If you guys want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure, I can go. My name is Michael Cruz. I'm the Alumni Relations Coordinator at SuccessWorks, and thank you all for coming. And again, if you haven't shared where you are in the chat, please do so. And then just send me an individual message with your whisk mail. I know a lot of people have done that already when you're coming in, but if you haven't yet, please do so. Thanks.
And I am Beth Carabin. I am also a career and internship specialist with SuccessWorks. I am going to be watching the chat box, so if you have questions, I'll be the one you will see responding.
All right, let's go ahead and jump in and get started. So today is our second workshop as part of the summer strategies for personal and professional success with the Badgers on Track programming for this summer. In addition to today's workshop, we have 2 more coming up that we'll tell you more about. And we have a number of resources at go.wisc.edu/badgersontrack. If you are still trying to figure out how do I make the most of my summer, we really encourage you to go and check out these resources. So today's workshop is brought to you by SuccessWorks. We are on the top floor of the W Bookstore and open virtually right now. We're a personal and professional development center for students in the College of Letters and Science and for recent grads. We do one-on-one career advising, and we help connect students to opportunities, including to meeting employers and alumni. We have 2 career courses and also an internship course, and then a number of events and workshops. You'll see things start populating the website as we get closer to the start of fall. If you are in another college, your major's in another college, there is a career office for you as well. If you find today that you have more questions and you want to make an appointment, LNS students at SuccessWorks, and then other students, there are other offices as well. So just a few things before we jump in. You can raise your hand if you have a question. You can add it in the chat box, as Beth had mentioned. If you want to share your video, that is great. We'd love to see you when you ask questions. If your microphone is not muted, please make sure it is muted now. We will have resources from today's workshop on a Google Doc that all of you will have access to, that we'll share at the end of the workshop, and then you'll have access to it afterwards. We want to make this as interactive as possible, so we're going to have a few polls, chance for you to reflect and chat. So please don't hesitate to jump in and interact today in these multiple ways. We're going to go ahead and get started and get a sense for where people are. We have undergrads, we have alumni, we have graduate students. We're going to share this poll with you in a second. And think about where you are at in your experience with networking. Go ahead and fill this out. So as you can see, we're all in different places. We are, we're right where we're supposed to be. And we want to get a better sense of where you all are so we can think about how we frame today's workshop. So like any other skill, networking takes practice as well. Okay, so some of you are, you've tried it, you want to get better at it. Some maybe a little bit, and maybe some that are just getting started. Continuing to think about that, we want to know what questions you have. In the topics we're going to cover today, we're going to cover what does it mean to tell your story, to communicate who you are. How do you find people, and then how do you go about reaching out to them? What are different ways that you can engage in networking and making connections? I'm going to try and answer questions. Mike is going to answer questions. Beth is also here and will be answering questions. If you can take a moment now and in the chat box, something that's top on your mind related to networking, go ahead and type that in. Thinking about maybe experiences you've already had, connections you've already made. So something to keep in mind today, we will make references to different ways in which we can network and all the different ways that we make connections. And we can still do this in a virtual setting, even if we do talk about how we might make connections in in-person settings. We know, given the situation with COVID-19, that we don't have as many opportunities for those in-person interactions. That's where making connections becomes even more important in a virtual setting. Okay. Yes. Use my network to get a job. How do I find people when I've just moved to Madison? We're in all different places right now, right? And so that's going to look different for everyone. What should I say? What type of questions should I ask? We hope we get these answered today. Please follow up with us if you feel like you don't get some of these answered. Okay, so one more interactive piece at this moment. Up at the screen here, you're going to see the text button, and you're going to have different options within the text button over here to choose a color you want. You could also use the pencil. We want you on the screen to underline, to circle, to check. What comes to mind? How do you feel when you about the concept of networking? Okay. Yes. A little stressed, huh? Right? It's not something we might naturally do. Talking to people that we don't meet, we've never met before, right? Strangers. Confused and discomfort. Yes, right? Fearful. How do I do this? Am I going to make a fool of myself? But interested and hopeful. You know, that's why you're here today, right? To kind of get more of a sense of how you can get started. As you can see, everyone is all over the board, right? We're in all different places. And we want to normalize what it means to make these connections, to build community. Yes. Okay, so as we move forward today, and you think about where you are now based on what you've circled, based on what you've checked, I want you to take a moment and think about where you want to go, where you want to be. If we were to do this exercise at the end, would any of these feelings change? And so you can kind of take your own pulse of thinking about, this is where I am and this is where I want to go. All right. Okay, so in making connections, You know, every day, you know, keep in mind that it's not unusual and it's very common to reach out to others. It may be in a personal setting, it may be in a professional setting. We create networks as a way of doing our jobs, of building relationships, of trying to find out, you know, who am I, what am I interested in, where am I going? When I meet with students, especially recent grads, September, October rolls around, and we go through job search strategies, and then I ask, have you done informational interviews? Mike is going to talk about those. Have you made connections with alumni? Have you talked to people? And that is often the missing link. And that is why we wanted to share this content with you today. We want you to get ahead on knowing the strategies to do this. So we're going to watch some alumni, some Badgers, and hear from them about their stories with networking and their experiences. This is going to give you a sense of what it might be like for you.
So networking has been extremely valuable for my career. And I think when I was an undergrad, if I had said that I was going to be in a career where I had to do a lot of networking and connecting with people, that would have been pretty terrifying, actually. So I pictured it as like having to hand out my business card and shake people's hands, and that's not really what it is. It's really just building connections to people in your field and in other fields.
It's very good to be a person that connects people to other people. Like I make it a point when I work with, when I was in graduate school, when I was, and I didn't really know this, I think, when I was an undergraduate, but, you know, I always say it explicitly, hey guys, if you ever need anything, if there's ever anyone I can introduce you to, like, I would be happy to facilitate that. Because you might be asking yourself, like, oh, why does that, how does that benefit me? I'll tell you that there are people who I have introduced to other people. They've gotten jobs as a result of that introduction. And even if they haven't gotten jobs, from that point forward, that person is going to be nice.
The word networking is such a buzzword too, that, you know, what does networking really mean? To me, it means going to a place because other people are going to be there that share common interests with you, and learning about that, their view on that interest, sharing your view, and building a strong connection and figuring out how you can help each other. It's building communities. I mean, networking, community building go hand in hand. If you're going to a networking event, it's probably because you care about just your cause and you want to be a part of a larger whole. So go put yourself out there, be outgoing, ask questions, make eye contact, shake hands with people, introduce yourself, you know, for who you are, and listen a lot, ask a lot of questions of other people, and find out how you can add value to their life or their idea or their whatever.
Yeah, so I think the importance of networking with professionals is kind of multi-fold. Number one, you can gain mentors in that way. I think if you're, you know, interested in a particular field, or let's say you're interested in a particular science, but you're not even sure, you know, where you want to go within that, talking to other professionals can help you to see kind of where someone else has taken their career, how they've, you know, aligned the kind of various stepping stones to bring them where they are right now. Can give you an example of, to potentially follow, and oftentimes they'll have great advice for, you know, how they got into their career or managed to get whatever job opportunities that they had.
Okay. So we've heard from a few alumni how that's been for them, and I'm sure that many of you can relate to that. We got to interview these alumni not too long ago, and a lot of those experiences are very relevant, very similar to how it might be now. So if going back to the thinking about the feelings, right, of where am I with this idea of networking? If there's some of you out there who don't even like the language around that, as some of those alums mentioned, think of this as community building. Think of this as casting a net wide, you know, making those connections with other people, sharing information, and building your network, right? So one of the questions that came up earlier, and probably multiple times, how does this help me get a job? Why do we take the time today to bring you all together to talk about this? Through networking, we are learning about opportunities. We are becoming known. We are exploring our options. We are talking to professionals to find out how did they get started? What is their advice? When you meet with a career advisor, they're gonna direct you to the resources and the strategies to help find people who actually do know those really specific questions that you have. Maybe you're thinking about graduate school. Maybe you're thinking about working and then going on to graduate school to do research. And you want to know what's the right order to do this. We can talk about that, but talking to others who have taken that path is really going to help to answer some of those questions that just seem to be looming out there, right? How do I engage in this? Why is this important? When we become known, we find out about opportunities that we might not otherwise know about, and that can be really valuable. Networks can also help us find people that we wouldn't have otherwise been able to find, and we'll jump into that a little bit more. So telling your story, communicating who you are. What do I say, right? A few of you ask that. What are the right questions to ask? We want to help you think about how do I best communicate to feel comfortable making these connections with other people. So telling your story really involves thinking about how do I share what I know, what I'm interested in. You know, we may think on the surface that networking is asking someone for a job, right? And it isn't, right? And it's much more than that. When you find someone who has similar interests and commonalities and you want to learn from them, you in exchange may have something to share with them, right? And it is an opportunity to be a resource to others, and then in turn to tap those connections when you most need them. But if we don't know for sure what we want to share about ourselves, then we can't help others help ourselves, right? And so in thinking about that, what do you value? What's important to you? In your education so far, maybe you've just graduated, maybe you're a graduate student, right? Really thinking about, based on the experiences I've had, what do I bring to an opportunity that I'm interested in? What do I want to tell people to be able to help me to find opportunities? When you think about values, you know, what's important to you? We have personal values, we have professional values, making an impact in the world, right? discovering innovation, excellence, and succeeding, and if we're able to communicate that, others are really going to get a sense for our motivation. So let's watch another video. If you want to dive more into this, the idea of personal brand is something maybe you've already Googled it and looked at it. We look at personal brand, we look at all of these things that make us who we are, that we want to communicate in our story. And this is what really helps us in succeeding. So let's hear from this alum.
So personal brand is, who are you? Who do other people think that you are? And how do you show that to the world? So that comes through various different things. That comes through your resume, that comes through your social media, whether that's Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, that comes through, the different things that you do on your campus, because it's all about what makes you who you are. But not just what makes you who you are, how do you express that to other people? Why is it important? Because of the fact that, when it comes down to your personal brand, it's like, how do you advertise yourself to the world?
Your brand is your image, how you're presenting yourself to the world. The more you're in tune with who you are, what you love, what you don't love, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses, the more you're confident on who you are, that's your brand that you're presenting to someone. LNS is a breeding ground for brands. That's what you're discovering in your undergrad. Who are you? What do you want to pursue? What are your goals? You may not be there, but what do you want to do? So start figuring that out, because all of that paints a picture of who you are and what's seen.
I take the core of my personal brand is about being an advocate. Obviously, in my roles being customers, I was a customer advocate and always looking out for their best interest. Now working for the community, I'm advocating for them on a daily basis. So again, me personally, I see myself as an advocate for my community, my customers, or in a much bigger sense, all kind of Zendesk customers, but also, of course, my friends and my family and myself. And I think a big part of that, ties back into my, my life as well. I'm a childhood cancer survivor, so learned from an early age that you really need to advocate for yourself. And again, always have that strong foundation that brings you back to who you are and what makes your life have meaning and brings you that motivation to get up every day and to go to work.
So my personal brand or the way I perceive myself in the professional world is largely based off of me trying to learn how to program on the web, and that ended up becoming my portfolio place. I could showcase what I was working on there. And I started writing there, so I started blogging there. But it really just got myself out into the tech world to really showcase I'm a designer who writes code, and I also like maps. And I think it's really important to have kind of that third. There's a lot of designers, there's a lot of people who write code. The maps is what at least sets me apart from the rest of the tech world.
So you may think you're very professional because compared to all your other friends, you actually wear socks, or I don't know, But when you get into an actual professional setting, that's actually not good enough. You actually need to change your wardrobe a little bit and how you speak. So there's a social self and there's a professional self, but it's all still one self. Figure out a way to kind of maneuver what that really is and ask questions. Hey, how do I come across? To a good friend and then to someone you just met. Be okay with asking them so they can be more clear on how you're actually seen, because that's your real brand, not how you want to be seen or how you think you're seen. Oh man, my brand is an enthusiastic person willing to help and create connections. Anyone who knows me knows if I talk to Erin, I might be able to figure out a piece to my puzzle, because that's what I love doing with people. And they know they're going to laugh and cry of laughter because I just love having a blast. I bring color to any environment I go to, and that could be professional, that could be social, but that's my brand. And I love me because I love other people.
What I hope my personal brand is, at least, is that I'm a creative problem solver. that I'm good with people, I'm fun to be around, but also that I'm able to take on new challenges or able to be successful where others aren't. And so that's why I really enjoy when a boss or someone in the firm reaches out to me saying, "Hey, Gary, we have a new project coming up. It's something that you've never done before, but would you be interested in taking it on?" And I'm really excited when I get those opportunities or invitations, because it really shows that I'm holding myself up to my personal brand, or at least getting my reputation's getting around, that I'm able to take on these new projects or challenging work.
Okay. So, getting to reflect a little bit on personal brand, right? Who am I? How do I communicate that to others? Take a moment, either in an open document or on paper, and give yourself a minute or two to think about, what do I want others to know about me? You know, what are my values, my skills, my strengths, my experience? What's going to help me to share when I'm in a situation where I get to meet someone who might have connections to share with me? And there's no right answers. These are all individual to each of us and our experiences. Maybe you think about what you have on your resume. What would you want to highlight from any experiences that you've had? Research, internships, part-time work, student org experience. Okay, thinking about our values, skills, and experience, we want to plug them into this idea of a pitch. This is not necessarily a rehearsed speech that we give when we are in a social setting, a professional setting. It's more of a conversation, right? That happens through these interactions. But using a framework of making sure that we're sharing what we want others to know, we're gonna feel more comfortable and confident and prepared. So in addition to what you've already written down, typed in, take a moment and add a little bit more to where you've been, where you currently are, where you want to be. What does this pitch look like for you? Okay, so you probably have a good sense, right? I know where I am now. Where do I want to go? How do I get there? Beth and I are both going to role play for you to give you examples of how this might go. Hi, Beth.
Hi.
All right. So, so yeah, let's role play before we demonstrate this before our next activity. So yeah, we're meeting for the first time. And do you want to ask me first?
Yeah. So who is the mystery that is Maureen? Tell me about yourself.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's nice to meet you. My name's Maureen Muldoon, and I did graduate work in College Student Services Administration to work with students in higher education. I've worked in academic advising and career decision making, and I've helped students connect to opportunities to be able to figure out their next steps. In my current work at SuccessWorks, I advise students with an interest in health, environment, and research. And I enjoy getting to talk to alumni and employers who are doing this work. So I can help connect students to these ideas, these resources, to be able to make these decisions to help them along their paths. And I enjoy working in higher ed and hope to continue doing this into the future.
That's great. Well, I, of course, am Beth. I actually studied business and worked for a long time in staffing and as a recruiter in the past, but I now have transitioned to education, which is where I am right now. I feel very strongly about helping people find their paths to discover themselves, and I'm looking forward to helping to do that for students in the future. Yeah.
So we want to take a moment. Thank you, Beth. That was great. This is just a little snippet of who we are, right? And if we were to continue on, we'd probably just follow up and ask more questions about those experiences we've had. We're going to take a moment and give you a chance to introduce yourselves. Whatever you want to share, using this or using a model that works for you. We are going to break out into small groups. We're going to take about maybe 5 minutes. Does that sound good to you, Mike?
Yep, that sounds good. So we're going to break into groups of 4 students. So there'll be 3 other students in the group with you. And let's say at 11:40, we'll bring you back into the main room. And just a warning, it might be a little awkward because you will just suddenly be zapped into the big group again. But just be prepared for that. There isn't really a graceful way to do it. And then when you get in your small groups, just practice introducing yourself to each other, using this, as Maureen said, using this form or whatever you're comfortable sharing. Okay, so here we go. Back, everyone. I hope that went okay. If you still have your mic on, if you wouldn't mind just muting for this part, just so we don't get feedback. But we're going to move on to the next section of the presentation. Many of you had asked about how to find people, how to build your network. So that's what I'm going to be talking about for a little while here. The first and maybe most important part of finding people and building your network is recognizing who you already know. So you already have a lot of people in your network. Maybe you don't view those people as like professional connections, but people in your family, in your community, even other classmates know a lot of people, and they know something about the professional world. These people don't always know how to help you, and that's why we spend a lot of time talking about telling your story, practicing your personal introduction, because you need to know how to help these people help you. If you don't tell your uncle what kind of work you're interested in, they're just going to tell you what they know about and what they think you should do. But if you guide them, they can give you some really valuable network information and professional information. So think about who you already know, and we're going to do another little activity here. So what we like to do is try to identify a brave student or a recent alum who's participating in this workshop, someone who would be willing to share their introduction. You just had practice doing this in small group, so now we're asking one of you to do it in a large group. So if you're willing to do that, please click on the little raise your hand button on the bottom, and we'll let you share with everybody. Okay, it looks like a couple people. So I think Shivish was first. So Shivish, if you wouldn't mind, put your mic on and go ahead and introduce yourself.
Awesome. Thanks for giving me the permission to speak. Hi, I'm Shivish Makar. I am a rising junior majoring in computer science and economics with a certificate in business. I'm really interested in strategy, strategic management, product management. So that's the field that I'm going to pursue. In the past, I've held a position working as a software educational intern last year, and currently I'm working at the Office of Data as the student intern, the Office of Data at the UW-Madison campus. Thank you. That's me.
Okay, great, thanks. So now we're going to try to tap into the network that already exists in this workshop, in this little community that we have right here. So you all heard about Shivish's interest in strategic management, product management. So is there anyone on the workshop who knows about that kind of work? Go ahead and put something in the chat if you know about that work, or sorry, the work that Shivish was talking about. There's a question of what kind of work. So if you know about product management, or if there's someone in your network who knows about product management, so maybe your parent, your roommate's parent, someone you work with at the university, a professor you know, an alum you know. So anybody that you can think of that might be able to help Shivish learn more about the kind of work he's interested in. Anyone? Okay, so it looks like someone used to know to do product management. So looks like Rosaline used to do product management. So that might be a connection for you, Shivish. Maybe Rosaline, would you be willing to talk to Shivish? Looks like she knows about a job opening now. Okay, that sounds great. So maybe the two of you could make a connection offline. It looks like Haley knows something about consulting, which is a related field, and would be happy to share their knowledge. So there's another great connection for you. So if you two are willing to have a conversation with Shivish, like after the workshop, one-on-one, maybe put your email in the chat or send a direct chat message to him if you're able to do that. Okay, so that's just kind of to demonstrate, like, you already know people in your network. So if you're able to talk about your interests, even with other students in your classes, it can be a really fruitful exercise for you. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is LinkedIn. And I believe we have a poll. Maureen, do you want to put that poll up?
So I want to change the poll up in this moment so we can get it going. I was enjoying following everyone. So my apologies on that.
No problem.
Okay, in the chat box, so thinking about this poll, that's me is number 1. I've created an account, number 2. I've heard of LinkedIn, number 3. And what is LinkedIn, number 4?
So just put the number right in the chat, yeah.
Just put your number right in the chat where you feel like you are with LinkedIn.
Okay, great. Looks like some active users. Most people have an account, so that's good to hear. That's really good. All right, thanks everyone. So I'm going to do a really quick demo of LinkedIn in just a minute. Before I do that, I want to talk a little bit about Badger Bridge. So if you're not aware, Badger Bridge is basically like a UW-Madison only version of LinkedIn for UW alumni, students, and staff. Hold on a second. So it's for alumni there'll be alumni on there who have already opted in to helping students, and when they sign up, they're asked like, how do you want to help? You can select like open doors at your workplace, share industry information. It's very similar to LinkedIn, but a little smaller because it's just UW. But right now, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, there we go. So we're looking at my LinkedIn profile, and I'm going to show you how to navigate to the UW alumni page. Before I get started, it's important to note this really works best if you have a good number of connections. So if you just created an account and you have like 2 people in your network, it's probably not going to work as well. But if you're at your own profile and you have like 50 or 100 connections or more, then this should work just fine. So you'll click on UW-Madison, which is in your education section. Then you click on the name of the school, and it'll take you to that page. And then on the left side over here, you'll see the alumni page. So when you click on that, you'll see over 300,000 living UW-Madison alumni who are on LinkedIn. So there's a couple ways that this can be really valuable for you. First, if you're kind of in the exploration phase, you're not really sure what possibilities there are or what you're interested in, you can click on this little next arrow, go over here to the what they studied section, and just click on a major that you're interested in or what you're majoring in, and you can get a kind of a quick snapshot of where people work, what they're doing, like what kind of sector they're in, what skills they have and then at the very bottom it shows the list of alumni. And these are sorted in order of your network connection. So your first degree connections would be first at the top of the list. But I'm going to clear that out. This is also really valuable for job searching and company searching. So let's say we're going to stick with the example from earlier, and we'll just put product management here. If you do a search for that, you'll see you'll see a huge list of companies where a lot of alumni who do product management work. So if you're looking at companies to target in your job search, this is a great way to identify some. So you would like take a look at all these company pages and get some ideas for what they do. And then again, at the bottom, there are alumni you can reach out to get some of the insider information about that work. Let's say you want to target one of these specific companies. So let's just pick Harley Davidson, for example. If you click on it, it'll show up here in the filter. I'm going to clear out product management. And if you focus on one specific company, this is a good way to get an idea about what alumni do at that company. So the different types of jobs that might be available at that company, and all the different things that alumni studied. And then again at the bottom, you have the list of alumni. And it can be really valuable to look at this shared connections piece. So let's say this person, Jenny, I don't know her, but it looks like I've got 2 shared connections. So if I click on that, I could message one of those people and ask them to introduce me to Jenny. Okay. So let's get back to the presentation. Okay, thanks. So then we're going to talk a little bit about reaching out. The reason you want to reach out, which we've kind of talked about earlier, you're basically trying to get some time with a person to do what's called an informational interview, sometimes called an informational meeting. It's basically like you asking questions, trying to get insider advice and information about the career path, advice for your next steps, and so on. So let's go. We're not really going to talk about networking at events. In this workshop, SuccessWorks does organize that kind of thing, but we're not really going to get into it here. But really, like, you can do all of this on your own. And I know there was a question earlier about networking during the COVID-19. You can do pretty much all of this online by email, through LinkedIn, or on the phone, or some other platform. So I'm going to show you a quick sample email. So let's say you email someone. You're going to basically put your personal introduction into writing. Who are you? What are you interested in? Why do you want to talk to that person? Someone asked earlier about no-nos during the networking. Please don't just ask for a job. That's like the easiest and quickest way to get ignored. You're going to ask for information. You're going to ask about the person's experiences and ask for their advice. So you can do that by email. You can do that on LinkedIn. You don't have to take notes or write these down. We're going to share these resources there in just a second. But that's all I have for right now before we get to the final resources. If you actually give me 1 second, I'm going to share our networking page on our website, because some of the questions we're asking about, like what questions should I ask, how should I reach out, that is all available online. So here we go. So if you're on the SuccessWorks website, under tips and tools, or on the networking page, and if you scroll down a little bit, we have the info about LinkedIn and Badger Bridge right here under Find People. Under this Reach Out section, we have all of this information about how to contact. We have sample emails and LinkedIn messages. And then down a little bit farther, we have questions to ask. So in like a half-hour to 45-minute meeting, you're not going to ask all of these questions. But these can give you some ideas for what to do. And then you're really trying to have a conversation with the person. Okay, let's get back to the presentation. Maureen, would you like to
Sure. I will jump right in here. Okay, so to wrap up, really quickly here, if you are interested in more of the workshops, more of the resources, this is a brief overview of what is coming up next. LNS students, you can also make an appointment to really dive deep and find out what is a good strategy for you in networking. Really quickly, a question about reaching people in higher up, very reputable positions. You know, thinking about strategy of connecting with people who know people, right? The 6 degrees of separation. I need to meet multiple people who might eventually get me connected to the higher ups. We also connect students to alumni. We reach out to them. I'm going to share with you a page here. Mike, if you want to bring this up.
Yep.
We have a Flash Mentor program. And this resource, because you have come to the workshop today, no matter what college you're in, if you would like assistance, if you would like us to help you in connecting with alumni, we can reach out to them and connect you, and you can follow up to plan a conversation. So what we are going to do is share a resource with you that has all of these links to what you can access from our workshop and also our Flash Mentor form. So Mike and I have both added in the chat a Google Doc link for you. So check out the link in the chat. Okay, so we've got workshop evaluation. What worked with this? What didn't? What are your suggestions to make this even better? Resources here, our Flash Mentoring Connection Request Form that I was just mentioning. The networking page that Mike just showed you is here as well. You're also going to find upcoming workshops. We are at noon. We want to be respectful of everyone's time. On the second page of the Google Doc, you're going to find a place where anyone here can add in examples. What do you want to do next? Do you want to update your LinkedIn profile? Do you want to get connected with some alumni doing a LinkedIn search or maybe Badger Bridge? Do you know someone who knows someone that you want to get in touch with? What do you need to do to get started with that? We want to leave you with these questions so that you can think about what you want to do to start networking. Hopefully this feels a little less scary than maybe it did at the beginning when you added in where you were at and feeling about this concept of networking.
And we really do want you to go and try to fill out some next steps and ideas, because then you can share your ideas with each other. You'll have access to this document going forward, so you might learn something from what other students are doing and be able to incorporate their plans into your own, or their next steps into your own. But that is all we have for you right now. I think we'll be available to stay and answer any additional questions. So if you have other questions, please put them in the chat or raise your hand and we can just talk it out.
And it was great to see so many people in the workshop today. We hope you found this useful. So.
Okay, yes, you definitely can add your personal info / majors to the document if you would like to continue networking with each other or try to contact each other. Please feel free to do that. The piece about flash mentoring. So flash mentoring is basically like our like a fancy word for an informational interview. And that's a service we offer at SuccessWorks for students. So we can, if you go to that link, fill out the form for kind of who you'd like to talk to. And if you find someone on LinkedIn or Badger Bridge on your own, that's great. If you don't know any particular person, but you have an idea of someone from this company, someone in this kind of job, put that in the form, and we'll make the first contact to that alum. We'll try to reach out to them first and ask, we have a student who is interested in XYZ, are you willing to talk to them? And then if they are, then we'll put them in touch with you. So we kind of take the first step. We'll do that cold email on your behalf, and then we'll pass the connection on to you, and then you'll actually have the conversation with them. So if you're a little wary of doing that first contact, this can be a good way to sort of ease into networking.
You all have access to this Google Doc, so that is also another way to get back to what you've learned today. So Rosalind, SuccessWorks uses another scheduling system. And when you go to successworks.wisc.edu, you can go to the Make an Appointment menu, and you'll see the links for all the different advisors. And Mike has just added that in there.
Yep.
Got some good suggestions here. You're welcome, Alex. Thanks for joining us.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Shivish.
Thank you.
I hope you're able to connect with Haley Joyce. If you didn't get her contact information, we can connect you with her afterwards. Good. Any other last questions? All these good pieces that people are going to do.
Thank you all for coming.
Yeah, thank you all. All right. Research what skills people currently working in the field. You want to enter what skills are employers seeking. It's great to see so many people are still on the dock.
Yeah, and I think we answered all questions that came through. So check.
Good.
Yes, send emails. Get out there.
Yeah, some good ideas going in there. All right, I'm gonna stop the recording now.
Okay, Mike, we can connect later.